All right, to Operation Epic Fury, President Trump revealing his timeline to Fox News for peace talks with Iran, all while the Navy maintains its blockade of the Strait of Hormuz.
And U.S. forces have intercepted 3 Iranian oil tankers in Asian waters. They're trying to round up that so-called ghost fleet.
Lucas Tomlinson is live at the White House with the very latest. Hey, Lucas.
Good morning, Ainsley. Good morning, gentlemen. Right now, officials say the Iran war is at a standoff. The blockade remains in place. The Strait of Hormuz remains closed. President Trump says there is no expiration to the ceasefire, telling our own Martha McCallum on the phone, quote, "There is no time pressure on this, that the 3 to 5 day window reported earlier today is false. The blockade scares them even more than the bombing. They've been bombed for years, but the blockade they hate." The Washington Post reporting, even if the shipping lanes are open in the Strait, quote, "it could take 6 months to fully clear the Strait of Hormuz of mines deployed by the Iranian military, and any such operation is unlikely to be carried out until the U.S. war with Iran ends," the Pentagon has informed Congress. A reminder, there's no go-around from the Persian Gulf. There's only one way in and out of the Strait of Hormuz. The U.S. Military Central Command with an update on the blockade. U.S. forces have directed 31 vessels to turn around or return to port as part of the U.S. blockade against Iran. And President Trump posting very good news. I have just been informed that the 8 women protesters who are going to be executed tonight in Iran will no longer be killed. 4 will be released immediately. 4 will be sentenced to 1 month in prison. Here's more from Caroline Levy.
And peacefully. And now that will happen thanks to President Trump, because he's a humanitarian at heart.
And Iranian forces seized those 2 ships yesterday in the Strait of Hormuz after U.S. forces seized 2 Iranian oil tankers. It appears to be a tit for tat. Right now, there are no plans for Vice President J.D. Vance to fly to Islamabad to continue negotiating with Iran. The White House says they're waiting for a comprehensive Iranian counterproposal. So we wait. Guys?
So just to be clear, Lucas, we picked up these ships far away from the Strait because we know we're beginning to unwind how Iran is getting their ghost ships in and out and how they're trafficking their oil, right?
That's right. One of them was outside the Strait of Hormuz in the Gulf of Oman. The other one, Brian, you're right, was in the Indian Ocean, far from the Strait of Hormuz. That ship allegedly had left Karg Island with oil. It was a sanctioned vessel, but the U.S. monitored it, sent in the Navy SEALs to board the ship in the Indian Ocean. It was a sanctioned vessel with oil bound for Asia, Brian.
Yep, and maybe bound for China. So that's certainly going to affect them. Lucas, thanks so much. That's what Lindsey Graham put out last night on social media. He says this blockade is going to go global, and I think that's what he's referring to. They picked up this ship, Tiffany, which was en route to China, full of oil. So how have they existed all these years? Because Joe Biden looked the other way and allowed them to take their sanctioned oil on unsanctioned ships. They turn off their transponders, and these ships will go to China in many cases. And they sell their oil, they get their money, it stays offline. A lot of the transactions are done in dollars. And now we're saying, we're stopping you here, and we also know what you're...
It's interesting because daily, the Institute for the Study of War, they're a nonpartisan, nonprofit public policy research organization, and they have public daily updates on what's happening. And their latest one have the report of the Iranian decision-making being fragmented and in disarray. And we've been hearing from our sources that the leadership there can't agree. So when our individuals go over to Pakistan and they meet with the Iranians, the leadership there can't agree. You've got the IRGC against, other leaders that have been communicating with our team, and they can't even communicate with their supreme leader because he's in hiding and there's no communication. So they have to pass notes to get a decision from him.
Yeah, so you got the political leadership, the speaker, the president, and then you got the IRGC, which has the weapons. And it looks like the IRGC, because they have the weapons, and it doesn't seem like this supreme leader is functioning properly, they're operating with independence. Now, the former supreme leader set it up that way. He set it up that if he was killed and the government was killed, that the IRGC could break out in these little militias, essentially, and they could fire at will. So there's no one really checking them. So if you got the administration that's trying to go back and forth about a deal, but none of it really matters if you can't get the IRGC on board.
So you got Egypt, Turkey, as well as Pakistan trying to get both sides back to the table. And we would fly over there. We're not going to go 18 hours with our 3 people and go over there and deal with people. Number one, are you going to show up? Number two, if you do show up, can you make decisions? J.D. Vance, 1 provinces, act 31 different game plans in order to stay alive. They looked at what happened with Saddam Hussein being taken out in a matter of months, and they saw the headless Iraq government fall apart. And they said, OK, we got to redo how we do this, because sooner or later we're going to have to confront the U.S. too.
Well, I think one side is willing to come to the table, and they're willing to negotiate with some preconditions, like the U.S. has to lift its blockade before the talks. Not sure if the president would do that. Maybe he would, or maybe he would right after the talks, depending on what those talks are. And then the other side, you have this Ahmad Vahidi. He's the IRGC Commander Major General. He appears to have the upper hand, and he's the only senior official who maintains direct access to the supreme leader, and he relays those key decisions.
So meanwhile, the White House has this position. We'll let them figure it out. Iran needs to get a unified front. Until then, we'll continue to take control of the Strait and strangle them from an economic standpoint. Here's Caroline Levitt.
We await their response, and we will see. The president has not set a firm deadline to receive an Iranian proposal, unlike some of the reporting I've seen today. Ultimately, the timeline will be dictated by the commander-in-chief and the president of the United States. The White House and our intelligence community certainly has a good understanding. However, we want to see a unified response and a unified proposal. To the previous question's point, you see a lot of different messaging on social media from many people within the regime, and a lot of that public nonsense is not what we hear from them privately. But again, we want a unified response, and that's what the president is awaiting.
Yeah, it's tough to deal when you don't know, you can't get them to show up, and if they do show up, they can't speak with one voice. So we kind of have an impasse now. Okay, what the gas prices look like right now, as of yesterday, just over $4. It was higher a week ago, and then a month ago it was $3.94, and then a year ago it was $3.17. Remember, on average, Joe Biden's per barrel was over $90. Right. We're getting close to the 70, and at 65 is when they don't want it to go any lower. That means you can't make any money in the oil business. But we're pumping like crazy. We're beginning to explore. We're trying to fill the gap. But right now, the American people are feeling the pinch in gas prices.
Yeah, they're saying in this new Fox News poll, when it comes to gas prices for your family, 60% say it's a major problem, 29% says it's a minor problem, and not a problem at all, 11%. You go back to September 25, Ainsley, a major problem, 33%, a minor problem, 43%, not a problem, 24%. I would just say, as I continue to say, this was the Iranians' goal, is to put pressure on the president when it comes to the gas prices, so he would alter course.
Right. Several things come to mind. I heard a report, a man was being interviewed. He's a farmer, and he has big tractors, and it's very expensive, obviously, to fill those up. Or if you're in the shipping business, it's very expensive to put gas in your boat. Those are the ones that it affects at a different level. But the other day, I was in Florida, and I'm driving. My daughter wanted Chick-fil-A or something, so I pulled into an intersection, and I saw all these people waiting for gas. I'm like, why this gas station? And I realized it's a BJ's, and I'm not a member of BJ's. Isn't that they have discounted gas, right? So people were willing to wait. I would imagine, based on this line, 30 minutes, 45 minutes to fill up their tanks to save a few bucks.
Meanwhile, the Treasury Secretary
will come back to where they were, or perhaps lower. As they did, President Trump has shown that he is good at getting energy prices down, and that our energy dominance agenda has the lowered prices.
How fast will the price of gasoline come down?
Again, that is path dependent on when the war and the conflict end.
Well, from a perspective of the Armed Services Committee, it's not likely to end soon.
But we don't know when it's going to end. And I would just say that if you look at the markets, even when there's talk about a deal being reached, you see the prices go down. Immediately, they go down. So just imagine once they finally do end the conflict. But I think it's important to note the president has been very clear. He's not going to allow this to be the issue that prevents him from getting a good deal and rushing into something. You don't want Obama 2.0. You know, you don't want the JCPOA that essentially emboldened Iran. So we'll see what happens.
And they unfroze a lot of their funds, and they arrived in dollars on pallets, and that's not what we want to do.
Right. Well, they're losing $500 million a day. Yeah. Think about that. That really affects their economy. How much longer can they go?
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.
यह संवाद पारिवारिक कला चूल्हे अलग होने, बंटवारे और मेहमानों के आने पर उत्पन्न हुई असहज स्थिति को दर्शाता है। आपने इसे भोजपुरी में विस्तार से लिखने को कहा है। यहाँ इस पूरे घटनाक्रम का भोजपुरी रूपांतरण है। घर के बंटवारा और मेहमानन के आवन एक पारिवारिक ड्रामा। पात्र बड़ी बहू जो अब अपना अलग चूल्हा फूंक रही है। हल्की छोटी बहू जो स्वाभिमानी है और अलग खाना बना रही है। बूढ़ा डोकरा ससुर जो भूख से परेशान है और घर की कलह देख दुखी है। मम्मा रिश्तेदार जो अचानक घर आ गए हैं। दृश्य 1, चूल्हा अलग होखल और तकरार। बड़ी बहू गुस्सा में ई कवनो नीक काम नईखे होत। हमनी के अपना मन से अलग अलग चूल्हा धर ले बानी जा। हमार रोटी बन गईल बा, अब रवा जाई भाई, जेकरा के खियावे के होके खिया दी। हम तो साफ कह देले बानी, हमार रोटी बनी तो बस 2 जने खातिर बनी, न फालतू बनी न फेकाऊ बनी। रात भर बोलत रह गई नी, केहू सुनलस। अब हमनी के रोटी